Welcome back. It's been a long time since I made any videos on this channel. The last time I did, I was going from 93 kilos to 105 kilos in powerlifting, and I said I would document how it went. And it was I had a great time doing it. I didn't document any of it. So the last time I was on here, I had just got a 620 kilo total as a 93 kilo lifter. And now I'm 3.5 weeks out from my first ever men's physique show, and I've stopped powerlifting. So let's talk about it, because I don't think there's too many people, at least not in this country, who have done both. And I went from, my goal when I went up a weight class was to compete at British Nationals. I did that, and then from there I basically jumped straight into a bodybuilding prep, and I'm now 20 kilos down from that point in the last 5 or 6 months. And yeah, it's been a process. First step from the 620, I didn't compete for another year. And at that point, as it is now changed, at that point, the qualifying total for a 105 kilo lifter was 680 kilos. So that's what I needed. I did a very consistent bulk into the 105s. And for the most part of it, I felt really, really good. I was working with a new coach from basically the whole prep for that first comp. And like I said, the last time, you know what, I need open powerlifting. 620 was in July 2023. I had a whole year to prep for the next one, and it was in July 2024. And this was the Cold Blood Classic, which was a comp in South Midlands. Obviously I live in Greater London, but this comp looked good and had a really good prep. Everything had gone right until a day before, when I found out I had COVID, and I was like wiped out, sat on the sofa watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for the whole day, just really praying I'd be okay. And I'd only tested positive for COVID on the Saturday, the comp's on the Sunday. And then I felt rough for a few days, so I think I just hadn't tested. I woke up on the Sunday and I tested negative. And I got to give my dad loads of credit, because he went out and got loads of like Lucozades and energy drinks and, you know, some just anything to try and keep me going. And we went and you know, I was like, I've tested negative, I'm going to try and do it. And I went 3 for 3 in squats, squatted 245 kilos on the third attempt. I was buzzing. I was like, we're in. Like, I was right on track for what I needed to get 680. And then bench happened. And I will put the clips on of what happened. The first attempt I had went completely fine. Can't remember what the opener was. Open powerlifting. The opener was 152.5 kilos. So we were looking good. I wanted to bench 170. And then the second iron rack, I don't get the press command. So if you don't know in powerlifting, ref behind you give you the press command when everything's like all set. And I don't get the press command, and I don't get it for the whole minute. So I had to re-rack and unrack and all this, you know. What was this attempt? It was 162.5. So all this is exhausting. It's just zapping energy out of you. You're just holding a bar with 162.5 kilos on it for the whole minute. And what the issue was that he was saying my heels weren't on the floor. And I had the first generation of the Avancus lifting shoes, which, if you know them, you know that the side of the heel just kind of comes up a little bit. Seems like quite a big design flaw in hindsight. And so I got told that, and my head was kind of spinning. I didn't have a handler on the day, so I should have just, all my bags, everything were like downstairs in the warm-up bit. It was so I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time to go get this and change shoes or put something else on. I had the Savaleos in my bag, so I could have used them, but I just wasn't thinking. I was like, I'll just make sure they're down. I really press in. The same thing happened on third, this time with 167.5. I went up, and yeah, so this was, at that point, you know, still, if I'm honest with myself, definitely not feeling 100% with the illness, and I'm just fuming. I'm just like, I'm not a person who really gets outwardly angry at all, but we're in, where was it? We're in Southampton, and I remember just walking out of the thing and just keeping on going, just walking past all these, like, I think they were like fisheries and everything. Just my head was so hot. I was so gone, and I knew that realistically that was my possibility of qualifying for nationals done. Like, that was it. It was, I needed to get definitely more than 152.5 for bench. I then went out for deadlifts, and I don't even know what I got. I kind of blocked this day out. I opened at 250, got that. I then got 267.5, which I think was a PR then. And then I needed 282.5 to qualify, and I went for it. I thought, yeah, we're here, we'll try it, and I don't even think I moved it an inch. So that day was a bit of a disaster, and it was the day that England played against Spain in the Euros final. So still feeling rough, rolled out the comp, which finished pretty late, got into a pub in Southampton at half time. No, actually, it was the beginning of the second half, because as I walked in, Spain scored. And then I waited for about half an hour for a drink at the bar. England then equalised, and then Spain scored again. I could barely finish my pint of Guinness, and it was time to go home. And I was like, this has been an absolutely disastrous Saturday, whatever fucking day it was. It was a disaster. So then I was, I wasn't great. But this is where it's important to have friends in sport, because I had found out that there was a comp as a Bethnal Green comp, which is obviously a lot closer to me. And when I had COVID and I'm sat there watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on the sofa, I email them and I say, look, this has happened to me last minute. It's bad luck. At this time, I'm thinking I'm not going to compete the next day. And I said, is there any chance I can get him? They respond on the Monday and say, yeah, you can. And I say to my coach, look, am I completely nuts to try and go back-to-back weekends and try and get this? Because I was like, if I want to do nationals, which was November, this is really the last opportunity I've got. So this comp then was 21st of July. And people had always kind of talked down on Greater London powerlifting to me, and the comps weren't great and everything. But other than nationals, which is to come, this was my favourite comp I did. It was great. It was just lifting. It was just in a room, people lifting weight. There was nothing special about it. It wasn't trying to be anything too fancy. It wasn't trying to be so Instagrammable and content creator, and there wasn't smoke flying out everywhere. It was brilliant. And there, did I go 9 for 9? I went 9 for 9. I went 9 for 9 for the first time, so that was a big thing to tick off. And yeah, I got the 680 total, and I was there with a bunch of mates, and I remember driving us all back, and I got a parking ticket because I parked in a stupid place, and I think it was a good day in comparison to the last week, which was terrible. And then to go and do a comp the next week, people the whole way through the week were kind of saying to me in the gym, like, oh, are you sure? Like, back-to-back comps, a bit rogue. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. It's still, qualified on the third attempt deadlift, so it wasn't easy. And then prep for national started. Now, because I was here, and I think it was only a couple days after that they changed all the rules for qualifying for nationals. So it then became a much higher bar. So I knew that, I had to give everything to this, because the chances realistically of being back at it were slim. So at this time, I had 4 months in between. I pushed food hard. And that is the point. Really, I'd been around 100 kilos. And then I pushed myself way into 100 kilos. And realistically, at that point, I got a bit fat. That's by the by. And I weighed in at nationals at 102.9. But I got up to 104-ish beforehand. I didn't do anything to lose weight. I always found I weighed in lighter. So I did that. And again, a lot of mates, a lot of people that I train with. It was the perfect comp. 9 for 9, bled every kilo out of myself. A 280 deadlift, which I pulled 270 in the gym a week before. And if you saw that, I'll put it on. You will have no idea how I pulled 280 the next week, and it looked way smoother. Like the peak, the taper can really take you away. God, I've been out of the game a while. I nearly forgot that saying. So yeah, it was literally as good as it could have gone. Now that left me with a difficult decision to make, because I'd been thinking lead up to it that it might be my last powerlifting comp. That was for a bunch of reasons. I think at the base of it, I didn't like being 105 kilos or, in that realm. I felt too heavy, felt like I was carrying too much body fat. I was also, there was some like little injuries happening. My elbow was battered for like 2 months going into it. And I could just feel that I knew if I pushed powerlifting too far and picked up a really big injury, I would be very gutted. And there was also another factor that I studied law at uni, and then the process in this country is to get a training contract, right? And so I've been applying, it hasn't been happening. And then I got a training contract sometime last year, probably the middle of last year. So I knew that would be starting September of this year. So I was like, that's why I wanted to, rinse out as many competitions as I could do, pour as much into it, because I didn't see that I would be able to then further down the line with the same intensity. So then I thought, okay, if this is November 2024, I've then got another year. What are the other things you want to do? And bodybuilding, I'm basically an extremist, right? This is the simplest way of putting this, is that I wanted to see how strong I could humanly get if I devoted everything to strength training. What was the maximum strength? And there'll be a lot of people who say you could have gone further. I think I could have got to an 800 kilo total. I don't know if I could have got much beyond that, but guys are just breaking records and pushing this strength game. It's way further every time. So yeah, I believe I probably could have done that. But like I say, the other thing I knew I wanted to tick off was bodybuilding. Had this training contract starting, and I figured in my head, I don't think I would go and do a first time as bodybuilding prep after having started the training contract. So I was like, okay, I've got a year. If I can do that in the summer of 2025, that'd be really cool to go from British Nationals to then stage lean. Like, I knew it would be hard. I knew it'd be really, really tough. And to be honest, I inquired with a few coaches to even see if it was possible. So that's what I did immediately after Nationals. I'd said to my powerlifting coach, I'm considering this. We'd spoken about it, and I said, look, let's just focus on the comp and talk about it after. The comp went really well. And then afterwards I said, it's been great. My coach Sanjeevi I developed so much as a lifter with him, and I just said, look, that's me. I've got to go do this thing. It will always be itching at the back of my brain if I never do it. So I got started with a bodybuilding coach. Like I said, I spoke to a few, asked if it was possible. My coach said, no, it's not, which I kind of liked. And look, looking at the time, I was like, look, I can lose the weight, I can shift it. But he doesn't know me, and I was going to say he doesn't know me from Adam, and his name's Adam. So he don't know me from Adam. And he was looking at a 104 kilo bloke going, how am I supposed to make that, an 80 kilo bloke? And that is essentially what we set about doing. So I started prep fairly aggressively in December. And since then, like I say, I remember I had a few days off after Nationals. It's 104 kilos. As of this morning, when I'm recording this, I am... that's more than fucking hell. I am 50, I'm not that light. I'm 85.7. So nearly 20 kilos drop. And I reckon that's me 3.5 weeks from stage. And I think I will probably be 84-ish around then. And that is crazy to me, because the very first time I weighed myself, I was 14. Well, it probably won't be the first time I weighed myself, but the first time I remember, because I was going on a ski trip and had to get weighed. And at that point, I was 83 kilos. And that's probably going to be my stage weight. and I feel like I look 10 years old right now. So that is the story, with a fair amount of speed, I think, for me, and how I go on about things. That's pretty quickly wrapped up for me. The main motivation for me when people ask why is I just want to see both sides of the fence. I want to see how strong I could get, and then I want to see, because I've been doing bodybuilding now really 2 years powerlifting. The other 6 years I've been in the gym have been bodybuilding focus. So I want to see the peak of my physique. I'm not saying I want to. Of course I want to win, but I don't have like any outlandish desires within bodybuilding or within physique, whatever. I just want to achieve the absolute peak of my physique, dedicate everything to it, and see what level I can get to. The same as I saw how strong I could get by dedicating everything to strength training. And yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. So if I actually manage to stay consistent here and keep posting stuff, in the few weeks I've got up until, I didn't even say this. So I've got 3 weeks to the first one, but I'm also doing one at the end of July. And that was the initial date I was working towards. Obviously, my coach had said, you probably won't be ready for July, but now we signed up for one in June because the cut was going well. So, yeah, this feels very early, but it's been great fun. And like, I've just been talking, but I'll put all the clips over of the different events and how that all went. But yeah, I think there's so much. For me, for loving lifting and being in the gym, powerlifting and bodybuilding are the two main things to go after. Obviously now there's loads of other options. There's High Rocks and there's CrossFit and there's or hybrid. There's so many different things you can do. But for me, in my head, it's powerlifting or bodybuilding. If you're a powerlifter, you should care about having more muscle. If you're a bodybuilder, you should care about being stronger. So to me, they're two sides of the same coin. And I just to be able to tick off both, to be able to say British nationals, stepping on stage in 7 months, massive, massive goal of mine. And yeah, we're close to the point of being able to do it. I will go into a bit more detail of the prep on here, hopefully. But give me a comment, like the video. If you've made it this far and if you made it this far, give me a comment, like the video, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I will try. This camera is set up here. I will try and not move it so that I actually am incentivized to do it. Because at the moment, I'm on high carb days. I'm feeling plugged in. I'm feeling energized. So this is prime time for making videos. But hopefully, we'll see you very soon.